Yeah, look, I think, Andrew, we're seeing numbers come in slightly better than expected across the industrial space, at least, and you're certainly seeing that in United Technologies numbers. We saw the same thing in Honeywell last week, so I think we're at the front end of what could be a bit of a better than expected earnings trend.
And when you think about this UTX story, what are you raising your forecast on the stock?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a clean beat. It's a modest raise. It wasn't the sort of blow the doors off type of numbers that you have seen in the past. But look, the last couple years, sales growth at UTX hasn't really been dropping to the bottom line because the company's been investing in so many numerous franchises. And so this quarter, you get 8% organic growth on the top line, 8% in adjusted EPS growth. There's no leverage in that, but it's a step in the right direction. And furthermore, I mean, the strongest areas of the portfolio were in aerospace. And so with the company breaking itself up next year, it's in a spot where your strongest business is the one that's going to be the RemainCo post split. So that's nice for the overall narrative, and when your core businesses are performing the best, that's certainly helps.
Hey, Carter, that's my one question. When you look at the guidance they're giving, I mean, they beat by 20 cents for this quarter. They raised their guidance to $7.80 to $8. The street was already at $7.91. Are they being conservative with that guidance?
I think you have to conclude that. I mean, there's in a company this large in this many markets, there's certainly a lot of moving parts that they want to protect for the beginning of the year or for the remainder of the year. But you've got some areas of outsized strength, namely in the commercial aerospace aftermarket in the first half of the year, this first quarter of the year. But we've obviously got the situation with the 737 MAX, and what does that mean for global airplane fleets? That could introduce some volatility later in the year, so they may want to protect for that.
We had a general market analyst yesterday, I think it was Savita Subramanian. Mm-hmm. She pointed out that she would be telling people to look at late cycle, things like industrials and financials. Would you agree with that assessment, just given what you said about how the industrials earnings are all pretty much better across the board?
Yeah, look, I think that's right. I think in aerospace, which is notoriously late cycle and long cycle, numbers have been fantastic. We're seeing that in the numbers that have been reported so far, and I think we'll continue to see that trend not only for the rest of the quarter, but for the remainder of this year.
What are you thinking GE is going to look like? And that's a different story, but in the same space.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've got, again, a lot of moving parts, right? You'll have a lot of focus on power, but I will fully expect that the aerospace portion of that portfolio, which is the crown jewel in many respects, is going to continue to be strong as it has been for the last several quarters.
What are you expecting from Boeing as well? And what did you make of the New York Times article over the weekend?
Yeah, when I think about, what that article addresses in terms of, Boeing South Carolina facility, this is a greenfield facility that, like any aerospace, facility is going to learn over time. So I think there's, some context missing from that analysis. I mean, we could say similar things about, all sorts of, early aerospace and defense, kind of factories. I mean, think SpaceX and their early, rocket manufacturing, right? And now we celebrate what they've been able to accomplish. So, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that analysis. But nonetheless, look, I think tomorrow for Boeing, partly, you're going to get some numbers, and I don't think they're going to matter that much. We know the numbers are going to be skewed by, the 737 MAX challenges. I think it's more about how they say the things they say and trying to help give people some clarity and transparency around the situation, because we haven't had a ton of communication while the investigation's ongoing. And so it will be a heavily listened to conference call, and I think one where, the bar is pretty high from a qualitative standpoint as much as a quantitative standpoint.